329. So let's start out with a problem. So John realizes his test grade is a function of the number of hours he studied. If only life was that cut and dry. But he's learned that if he studies 1 hour, he will get a 66. 2 hours, he will get a 75. And 5 hours, he will get a 90. Okay. If the test grade is a function of the hour study, find an equation. So we're modeling this with a quadratic that does this. Okay. So what's happening here is, if I look at it, if I study 2 hours, I get a grade of 1 hour, I get a grade of 66. 2 hours, I get a grade of 75, and 5 hours, I get a grade of 90. These are 3 points. What do you think I'm going to do with these 3 points? I'm going to plug these in the calculator and find the parabola that goes through these 3 points. So the way that works is control document, list and spreadsheet. So I've got a couple of things going on here. I'm trying to study and I'm trying to make grades. So I got 2 variables. So if I study 1 hour, I make a 66. I study 2 hours, I make a 75. Study 5 hours, and I make a 90. Okay, so I just enter that data in the calculator, and then how do I find the parabola? What kind of page? I got 2 choices. I can do calculator or data and statistics. So data and statistics, then I need to say, okay, I'm studying a certain number of hours, and I'm looking for what my grade will be. Okay. You think this parabola is going to open up or down? Looks like it's going to open down, so it looks like a slight curvature this way. Okay, so what I need to do now is just analyze regression, and it's show quadratic. Okay, so it looks like negative x squared plus 12x plus 55. So this parabola does open downward. So be careful with these little small minuses this calculator uses. Negative x squared plus 12x plus 55. It's the formula for that. Let me make sure it's not chopped off here on the end. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so that is now my model. So we're going, if this question were yesterday, I would have started with giving you that model. So g is a function of x. So g of x, in this case, is going to be negative x squared plus, what did we say, 12x plus 55. So that's the equation that now I'm using for this particular model. Okay, so what you see that follows is just what I did on the calculator. Enter the data. I did a data and statistics page. The other way to have done this would be to just add a calculator page, and then it's a couple of extra steps, but statistics, stat calculations, quadratic regression, you have to put your study time and your grade time in there. Okay, the grade is a function of the hours you study. And ax squared plus bx plus c, that's negative x squared plus 12x plus 55 is the formula for that. One of the things that's challenging on this test is, like, there's not a lot of room for partial credit here, because I'm not looking at your calculator. I don't know if you put these numbers in right, and I'm hoping that you got the right thing here. So you got to be real confident with the data entry and the commands you're using in the calculator. So we've got that. Now the question becomes, if I want to graph this guy, what is the minimum amount of time John must study to make a grade of 80? Okay, it's often helpful in these problems to draw something out. So I've got it graphed there, but John is studying, what is it, 1, 2, 5 hours. So his grade starts out at what? So this is, if I start out with something like 50, 60, 70, 80, what does this grade start out with? It starts out with that 66 or something. So somewhere right here, 2 hours, he made a what, 75? What did he get for 5 hours? What? An 80 or what? 90. So 90. So we know something like this. So we know that this graph is doing, something like this, okay? So if I look at this, if this is a parabola, it says, what's the minimum amount of time he must study to make a grade of 80, okay? So if I look at that parabola, how many times is it going to touch that green line? Twice, because you know that this is going to come back down, okay? So I got two things to worry about for him making grade 8. Now, does that make sense? Like,
if you study more,
what if you study 24 hours? You think your grade will be better? Why would it not be better? Yeah. What if you study 30 hours? Your grade's probably not going to be as well because you lost sleep that night. So it's feasible that you can study too much. I don't think anybody's in danger in this class. Let me know if so. But yeah, but it's feasible. You can't just say, I can't say that you study 1,000 hours because obviously you may be giving up sleep to do that. So it may make sense. I don't know if this is a good model or not. But if I want to figure out the minimum grade to make it 80, all I have to do is just set that equation equal to 80. Okay. So if I set that equation equal to 80, then I just need to find out the solution. So I've got negative x squared plus 12x plus 55 equal 80. I love for all my quadratics to be equal to what? 0. So if I subtract 80 from both sides, I get negative x squared plus 12x, and then what is this, minus 25 equals 0. At this point of where I am in this class, I'm not going to sit and worry about, do I factor it? Do I go a quadratic formula? Do I do completing the squares? What am I going to do? I'm going to use my TI NSpire, okay? So, because it is available. So, I just need to go and say, okay, menu, algebra, polynomial, complex roots of a polynomial, minus x squared plus 12x, and there is a plus 12x minus 25. Is that my phone or something? Oh, minus 25. So that is set equal to 0. Once it's equal to 0, all I have to do is plug it in here and just say comma x and get my solution. Okay. It was menu, algebra, polynomials, complex roots. Or you could just type in C poly roots. If that's too hard, you can type in C complex polynomial roots. Okay. Pardon me? Yeah, you can type it in. You can type in C poly roots, parentheses, and do that. So what does this tell me? It tells me what? I got 2.68 and 9.31. So x is so what does that tell me? The minimum amount of time I need to study to make, what was it they want to be making, 80, is 2.68 hours. So I need to study 2.68 hours to make an 80. How realistic is a model like this? Yeah. Well, I mean, if I were to tell you, okay, if you go home tonight and you study 2.68 hours, I guarantee you're going to make an 80. I mean, sort of doesn't make sense. Yeah. Well, that's an 80, right? So, yeah. You make an A if you study 2.68 hours? Okay. Yeah. Like I said, this is not living in reality, So this might be a good thing where if you give me the data, I can say, I look at what people study and the people who did well did this, but this is not good for prediction, because if it's not just the number of hours of study, it's have you done the homework? Do you understand? Are you studying the right things? There's so many things that go into that. Okay. Yep. I want to make sure that you've seen this, but I'm not sure it's people's favorite method to do that. Let's enter a graph. So graph, this formula was what? Negative x squared plus 12x plus, what was the original, 55? Okay. And here's what I don't love about the table. Like, how wonderful is that graph? Yeah, it's a parabola, but I've only seen part of it. This doesn't do a good job of scaling, okay? So the y-axis are my grades. This would be good if I was trying to figure out which one of you made between a 1 and a 6, okay? But, I mean, grades are going from 0 to what? 0 to 100, okay? So menu, window zoom, window settings. Let's take that y-axis up to 100, okay? Okay, now this is making a little bit more sense. I did the x-axis, sorry. I make that mistake quite a bit. Window zoom, window settings. It's the y-axis I need to go up to 100. Okay. But the x-axis, what did x represent? Hours studied. So let's just take it up to maybe like, 20. What was the value we got on that other one? Let's just try 20. Okay, this is better. So you have to adjust the window to say, okay, yeah, this looks like the model, okay, that I see here. And what is it I'm trying to figure out? The amount of time it takes to get an 80. So if I hit a tab, let's graph the line y equal 80. Okay. So I need to find graphically where these things do what? Where they intersect. Okay. So to do that, that's menu, analyze a graph. Which of these you think would help me find the intersection? Intersection. And all you have to do is you move your, which I hate this little cursor thing here. You have to move this, okay? And then you have to click on the left and the right of that point. So click on the left and the right, and that tells me 2.68. Okay. The other thing, so to find the other point, intersection, click on the left and the right, and you get 9.32. So those are the two values that give me the score of 80. Like I said, you're going to need this a little bit later to do these things graphically. So I want to introduce this, but I'm not requiring you to do the graphical method. I think if you can just use the C poly roots, you should be in good shape for that. So the minimum time he must study, what do we determine? 2.68 hours. Okay. What's the maximum grade this guy can make on the test? How do we know that? Well, okay, first of all, our model is a what? Parabola. Parabola opens up or down? Down. So does it have a maximum? It does have a maximum. We have a special word for that maximum. It's called the what? Vertex. Okay. This is a way of saying go find the vertex. That's the maximum that the guy can score on this test. Okay. So I got a couple ways of finding the vertex. How do I find the vertex on a parabola that has this equation? How will I find the vertex there? Yeah, it's going to be negative b over 2a. That gives me the what value of the vertex? So that x value tells me the amount of time he must study. But how will I find the maximum grade? You plug that value back in. So I got two ways of finding the vertex. So to find the vertex is going to be, so the maximum grade he can study, I can say x equal negative b over 2 times a, which is what? 6. Okay. And then, so it tells me that, and then to plug this in, our formula is what? F of x equal minus x squared plus 12x plus, what was it, 55? Okay, so if I plug this 6 in, I get negative 36 plus 72 plus 55. That's 36 plus 55, which is what? 81. Okay. Yeah, 91, sorry. According to this model. Okay. So the maximum grade, so a 91 is the maximum grade. Okay? Now, here's a situation where the graphical method is easier. Okay? So let's go back to our graph. We've got this graph right here. Menu, analyze. What am I looking for? Maximum value. So I can just come over here. I know the maximum is going to be somewhere right in this area. So click to the left of where I know it is and click to the right of where I know it is. And it tells you, oh, what did I do? Oh, did I do this wrong? Sorry, let me go back and let me graph it again. So control doc, graph, control doc, add a graph. So this graph was what, negative x squared plus 12x plus 55. And let's look at our window zoom. Let's take our y values from 0 to 100. I did something wrong here. Oh, you're right. Yeah. So, okay. So to find the vertex, menu, analyze, maximum. Click to the left and the right of that point, and it tells me 691. Okay. So it rounds off a little bit, but this tells me this is approximate. This tells me you study about 6 hours to make a 91 on this test. Okay. But I think that one, no, that's the same number. So yeah, 691. So this tells me, so this is a different way of finding the vertex. I did not have to find the axis of symmetry and plug it back in. If I graph it, I can just go to the graph to find the vertex value. So keep in mind the difference is the two questions I could ask. What amount of time must this guy study to make his best grade? 6 hours. What is the best grade he can make? 91. Those are both ways of saying, go find the vertex and answer a question I'm about to ask about the vertex. Well, in this one, that's sort of the diminishing returns, you know. So he's in this model 6 hours after he starts studying more than 6 hours. Maybe he gets tired. Maybe, you know, I don't know what's happening. Then it's sort of a diminished return. So he didn't have to stay up 24 hours. So the maximum grade, what was it? 91 for studying for 6 hours. Okay.